Let's talk about Prince Harry. You will have noted his long-running legal saga as he sued his father's government, the British government, demanding that he receives armed police protection whenever he visits this country. It went on for ages. He lost, then he appealed, and he lost the appeal, and then he appealed again. After the first appeal, the judge said, look, mate, he didn't actually use those terms. You're never going to win this case. I advise that you abandon it. But he didn't. He's a stubborn, entitled little fool. So he carried on. Now, this is going to cost him a fortune, about £1.5 million at least. Turns out that the last appeal cost another £100,000, £102,000 to be precise. Hitherto, his legal bill stood at, this is the Home Office legal bill, stood at £656,000. And then he went,
Taxpayers are suffering now because of one man's relentless pursuit of a lost cause. While ordinary British families struggle with rising costs and economic uncertainty, they're being forced to foot a staggering $1.3 million bill for Prince Harry's spectacular legal failure.
Now, Freedom of Information requests have revealed that British taxpayers are on the hook for about $1.3 million in costs related to Prince Harry's failed legal battle with the Home Office. So,
this isn't just about money. It's about entitlement, accountability, and a prince who seems to have forgotten that actions have consequences. Freedom of Information requests have just blown the lid off what many suspected all along. The British public are now on the hook for over $1.3 million in legal costs stemming from Prince Harry's doomed battle with the Home Office. This is taxpayer money, extracted from working families and pensioners to fund a millionaire's court tantrum. Every pound represents hours worked by ordinary citizens, taxes paid by nurses, teachers, and firefighters. Money that could have funded public services or been left in the pockets of those who earned it. Instead, it's been consumed by a legal machine grinding through Harry's grievances with the determination of someone who's never had to count the cost.
Will Harry be expected to pay or repay the costs?
Right, so the tally now it's over 1.3 million, as you said. That includes the legal action that Harry took out against the British Home Office.
But the trail of financial destruction doesn't end with the taxpayer bill. The true scope of this legal obsession becomes clear when you examine what this dispute was really about, a security arrangement that sparked 4 years of bitter courtroom warfare. When Prince Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties, they forfeited their right to taxpayer-funded police protection. Simple equation: no royal responsibilities, no royal security, funded by the public purse. Yet Harry couldn't accept this basic principle of accountability. The security dispute wasn't about protection, it was about privilege. Harry wanted to maintain the perks of royal life while abandoning the responsibilities.
Harry was very upset about that decision. He has cited that as the reason why he refuses to come back to the UK with his family, and this has really been an ongoing court battle for over 4 years. So
he demanded that British taxpayers continue funding his police escort, even as he built his new life in a $20 million California mansion, signing lucrative deals with Netflix and Spotify. The audacity is staggering, expecting working families to pay for his security while he profits from criticizing the very institution they're meant to protect. This wasn't reasonable concern for safety. This was about a prince who couldn't accept that choices have consequences.
Therefore, he will be expected to likely reimburse the Home Office and therefore the taxpayer this money. I think that's only fair.
When you walk away from duty, you walk away from the benefits. Yet Harry seemed genuinely shocked that the British public wouldn't continue bankrolling his protection while he attacked the royal family from across the Atlantic. The Home Office made the right call, but Harry couldn't let it go. His wounded pride drove him into a legal battle that would consume 4 years of court time, millions in legal fees, and countless hours of public resources. What started as a reasonable security decision became the foundation for an epic legal disaster. The courtroom became Harry's second home as this nightmare stretched across 4 devastating years.
If he does repay the $1.3 million, on top of his own legal fees, it's estimated that he spent in the ballpark of about $5 million just on this legal battle. I mean, $5 million, he could have paid for security with that money. I think it's an insane decision, but, from the taxpayer's point...
4 years of appeals, hearings, legal briefs, and judicial reviews. 4 years of judges, lawyers, and administrative staff dedicating time and resources to one man's inability to accept reality. This wasn't a case that dragged on due to legal complexity. This was systematic, methodical failure stretched across multiple courts. Harry lost at every level, yet kept appealing, kept fighting, kept burning through public resources like a man possessed.
Sort of holding up the court's time, it's the legal system, it's all of these public services that really have better things to do with their time than hear Harry's grievances in his, $20 million mansion. I think they're sick of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Each defeat only fueled his determination to prove that he was above the rules that govern everyone else. The pattern became predictable and infuriating. Harry would lose a case, file an appeal, lose the appeal, then find another legal avenue to explore. Courts that should have been handling serious criminal cases were instead forced to referee a prince's tantrum about his security arrangements. The most recent defeat at the UK Court of Appeals last month should have been the final nail in the coffin. But knowing Harry's track record, even this definitive loss might not be enough to end his war against common sense and fiscal responsibility. Now comes the moment of truth. The bill has arrived, and Harry will be expected to pay up. When you lose a legal battle this comprehensively, especially one that drains public resources, you pay the costs. That's how the system works for everyone else, and it's how it should work for princes too. The $1.3 million tab represents more than just legal fees. It's a lesson in responsibility that Harry desperately needs to learn. This money will likely be recovered from his substantial wealth, built on deals that traded on his royal status while simultaneously attacking the institution that made him famous. The fact that Harry will likely have to write a check for $1.3 million sends a powerful message. Legal action has consequences that extend to your wallet, and in Harry's case, that's exactly where it hurts most. Yet this repayment only scratches the surface of the true financial carnage Harry has unleashed on himself. The public cost is just the beginning of his expensive legal education. The $1.3 million that taxpayers will hopefully recover is nothing compared to what this obsession cost Harry personally. Estimates suggest he's burned through approximately $5 million of his own money pursuing this lost cause. $5 million that could have been used to actually improve the security he claims to be so concerned about. The mathematics are stunning. Harry spent $5 million of his own money and stuck taxpayers with another $1.3 million, bringing the total cost to over $6 million. $6 million to lose comprehensively at every level of the British court system. $6 million to prove that the Home Office was right all along. What makes this financial devastation even more absurd is what that money could have accomplished. $5 million would have bought years of top-tier private security. Instead, he chose to feed that money into a legal machine that everyone except him knew would never deliver the outcome he wanted. The waste reveals something crucial about Harry's mindset. This was never about security, it was about winning. It was about forcing the British establishment to bend to his will. The $5 million wasn't spent on protection, it was spent on pride, and pride is expensive. But the ripple effects extend far beyond Harry's bank account, creating a situation that undermines his stated desire to reconnect with his homeland. Harry's expensive legal crusade has created a barrier between him and the UK that goes deeper than any court ruling. He's publicly stated that the security decision is why he refuses to bring his family back to Britain, turning what should have been a private family matter into a very public standoff with his own country. This self-imposed exile reveals the true cost of Harry's legal obsession. His children are growing up without knowing their British heritage, their grandfather the king, or their extended family. All because Harry couldn't accept a reasonable decision about security arrangements. The tragedy is that this separation was entirely avoidable. If Harry had accepted the initial decision and worked with private security providers, his family could have maintained their connection to the UK. Instead, his legal war has created a chasm that grows wider with each failed appeal. What's particularly galling is that Harry's security concerns could have been addressed through private arrangements that wouldn't have cost taxpayers a penny. But that wouldn't have satisfied Harry's deeper need to force the establishment to validate his choices. However, while Harry wages war against his own country's legal system, the royal family he left behind faces challenges that make his security disputes seem petty and self-indulgent. As Harry burns through millions on legal fees, the working royal family faces a crisis that threatens the monarchy's foundation. With only 11 active working royals fulfilling official duties, the institution is stretched dangerously thin, and the demographic reality is brutal. 4 or 5 of these 11 royals are elderly. King Charles and Queen Camilla both in their mid-70s, Princess Anne in her 70s, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester in their 80s. The Duke of Kent, at 89, represents a generation who've served faithfully but can't continue indefinitely. This aging crisis exposes the short-sightedness of Harry's departure. At a time when the monarchy desperately needs younger, energetic royals to carry out hundreds of annual engagements, Harry chose to walk away. His decision to prioritize personal grievances over public service has left gaps that may soon become impossible to fill. When William becomes king, he'll inherit a depleted workforce at precisely the moment when the monarchy needs to prove its continued relevance. Yet instead of stepping up to help, Harry has spent 4 years and millions fighting the very institution that gave his life meaning. Instead, the monarchy must look elsewhere for reinforcement, turning to family members who were never expected to carry the burden of full-time royal duties. With a working royal family facing an unprecedented staffing crisis, palace insiders are quietly preparing for a dramatic expansion. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, daughters of Prince Andrew and currently living relatively private lives, are reportedly on secret standby to become full-time working royals when William ascends to the throne. This potential recruitment represents a significant shift in royal strategy. Beatrice and Eugenie have maintained largely private careers while occasionally supporting royal events, but they've never been expected to carry the full burden of royal duties. Now, faced with an aging workforce and Harry's permanent absence, the palace may have no choice. The irony is devastating. Harry, who was born into the role and trained from birth for royal service, has abandoned his duties to fight expensive legal battles. Meanwhile, his cousins, who built independent lives outside the royal bubble, may be forced to sacrifice their privacy to fill the gap he left behind. Beatrice, in particular, seems to have structured her life with this possibility in mind. Her career choices and public appearances suggest someone who's always understood she might be called upon to serve. The tragedy is that this service is now necessary because her cousin chose personal grievances over public duty. Yet even as the royal family scrambles to replace Harry, new security threats emerge that make his legal battles seem increasingly divorced from reality. While Harry fights in courtrooms about theoretical security threats, real danger stalks the royal family he abandoned. A man in his 30s was arrested after illegally trespassing on Windsor Castle grounds, breaching the security perimeter that protects Prince William, Kate, and their 3 young children at Adelaide Cottage. This wasn't a theoretical threat debated in legal briefs. This was a real person, with unknown intentions, penetrating the security of the future king's family home. While Harry argues about his right to taxpayer-funded protection from his California mansion, his brother's family faces actual, immediate security risks. The timing couldn't be more damning. As he concludes his expensive legal battle about security arrangements, his family members who remained in the UK to serve the public are dealing with genuine security breaches. The contrast exposes the fundamental selfishness of Harry's approach, demanding resources for himself while his relatives face real dangers. This latest security breach represents the second publicly known intrusion at Windsor Castle within a single year. The previous incident was even more serious, with 2 men managing to breach security and get dangerously close to Adelaide Cottage, where William and Kate live with their children. What makes these security failures particularly troubling is their timing. As Harry spends millions demanding taxpayer-funded protection for his theoretical visits to the UK, his brother's family faces real, immediate, and escalating security threats at their actual residence. The $1.3 million bill that British taxpayers now face represents more than just the cost of Harry's legal failure. It's a symbol of misplaced priorities, squandered resources, and the price of entitlement. While his family faces genuine security threats, and the monarchy confronts an existential staffing crisis, Harry has spent 4 years and millions of dollars fighting battles that serve no one except his own wounded pride. The true cost extends far beyond the immediate financial damage. It's created a rift between him and his homeland that may never heal, forced his cousins into royal service they never sought, and diverted attention from the real challenges facing the institution he was born to serve. As British families struggle with economic uncertainty, they're being asked to foot the bill for one man's inability to accept the consequences of his choices. That's not just unfair, it's a betrayal of the public service principles that should define any member of the royal family. The bill has arrived, and it's time for Harry to pay up, not just financially, but morally. The British people deserve better than being used as a piggy bank for princely tantrums, and the monarchy deserves better than being undermined by someone who was meant to protect